Thank you for tuning in to Dead Loader Emissions, where we discuss everything hardcore, underground, horror, and the such. And, definitely try and take a time to bring some attention to local bands. Tonight, we're extremely excited to have, two amazing people. One is the singer, guitar player, songwriter from Morta Skuld, Dave. And he's been doing this, your first demo came out in 1990.
30 years.
30
years this year, yeah, it's the 30th anniversary.
I reviewed all of that today.
Well, and we completely looked up to you when I started my first death metal band a few years later. And,
thank you.
I'd like to talk about how you kept consistent.
Sure.
And what you're doing currently. And then,
sure.
On the other hand, we got kind of a dual, podcast. We got Metalheads Podcast on. So
with George,
I'm back.
Super happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here.
Welcome back, George.
Yeah, George, this is our
absolutely
third podcast together. I think we've been on yours.
Yep.
And you've been on ours, and yeah,
Dude,
you actually wanted to be on this one because you really loved the new Morta Skuld album. Is it?
I do. It is lagging quite a bit, yeah. And yes, I do. Have fun.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
All right. So yeah, we're very happy to have David Gregor on from Morta Skuld. Apologize about any technical difficulties, but he's been in the underground death metal scene since 1990 and just a stalwart for the Midwest death metal scene. So I really appreciate having you on. I'm really excited.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
I can't wait to talk about it. And as a additional co-host, we got Jeremy, Maggie, but we got George Washburn from the Metalheads Podcast, who I love and adore. I try and talk to as often as he will allow me to. And, in my opinion, I would say, George, you listen to probably about 40 to 50 albums a week, maybe?
That might be a bit excessive. I mean, I probably get that many freaking promos, but do I listen to them all? No. But I mean, I listen to a lot. I mean, 20 is probably more realistic. There were probably weeks that I listen to that much, but yeah.
Well, you're very respected in the scene of being able to listen to things and lay that all out.
I'm OCD.
It's really, it's a big deal to even have you here with us. You're very respected, and it's absolutely a big deal to have you here with us.
Well, thank you.
Well,
thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's cool, George. So you wanted to be part of this conversation because, from when we talked about, you really enjoyed the new Morta Skuld album.
Oh yeah, it kicks ass. Suffer for nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I dig it. I saw you guys a couple years ago at Maryland Death Fest, and it was quite awesome.
I was gonna say I saw your hat, and I was gonna be like, I remember that well. That was a great, man. That was a great festival. I was very honored to be part of that.
You sounded amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, everything there was like top notch. There, like, we walked in there and it was like we felt like we were Slayer. Like they just treated us so well.
Slayer.
I
thought
Slayer band, or Metallica, whoever you want to pick. Just we felt very well respected, and they really took care of us. And I remember I forgot my guitar strap out of anything. Never forget that. I forgot it. I'm running around for out. You got one, and they were like, we'll get you one. And I'm like, and then finally, like I think the band that went on before us, I was like, here. I'm like, oh, thank God, because then I was uncomfortable because it wasn't my strap, but I remember that fest very, very well. I think we flew in and like didn't get any sleep, and I was like, we were up for like 20 hours or something like that. So, but it was a great show. And yeah, the sound, everything was just top notch.
Yeah. I was really impressed with the sound. A lot of death metal shows, not a lot, but I mean, a fair number of death metal shows, you can get a really muddy, shitty sound. And,
well, I think
did not have that. I was really impressed with the sound.
Thank you. And it wasn't our amps or cabinets either. So I was actually looking back. I'm like, I can't hear myself. I can't hear I mean, the sound on the stage was this low end rumble. So when we played, it just shook. And I'm like, I'm not used to this shaking like this. So I was having a little bit of a hard time. But from what everybody else said, they're like, oh, it sounded great. So I was like, awesome. That's key. It doesn't matter what I think. It's what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, we actually talked a little bit about your guitar rig and what you're using currently.
Mm-hmm.
Like being in a band.
Nothing special.
No, but like going to Europe and, between having like a, Marshall head and what you guys are using, currently, I mean, how do the travel costs, I think, play into it?
Well, the thing is back in the day, for the first 4 records, I was all pure Marshall for probably about maybe 8 or 10 years. And then I started working at a record or a music store here in town, and Line 6 had just come out. And the reps came in and they were showing us all this stuff, teach us how to sell this stuff, and had a head. And I was like, can I buy one of those? And they're like, yeah, we'll sell it to you at B stock, $200-$300. And the thing was like at the time like $1,500 or something. So I got that and been playing that since 2000. So I've been playing that for the last 20 years. But when we go overseas, it's different because we were like George was just talking about Maryland Death Fest. Same thing with that too. They supplied all the back line. Usually when you go to a organized or a really good run fest like theirs, or even Atlanta Death Fest too, they'll give you a sheet. They'll say these are the amps we have. These are the cabs we have. You get like a it's called a day sheet, and then you kind of and like overseas too. We went over to Netherlands Death Fest. I will honestly have to tell you, Maryland Death Fest was amazing, but Netherlands Death Fest was a whole nother. We opened for Slayer back in 1998, and I can actually say that Netherlands Death Fest was more of a highlight of my playing career than that. It just was the fans. So, I mean, we weren't even playing. We had our backs to the crowd, and we're still dialing in these. I think we had PV 6505s, which PV 6505 pluses or the regular, even 5150s. Anywhere you go, you'll sound good. So we're dialing in our sound, and we happen to look back, and there's like hundreds of people just sitting there like hanging on, and we're just like kind of sound checking, and they're like hanging on every note, and it was like it was kind of weird and surreal at first. I thought, whoa, and then as we finally got to that phase where we're going to start playing, I turned around and the place wasn't the big room, it was the other room, but still it was probably about 1,200-1,300 people. It was just packed from front to back, and they're doing the hey and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, that doesn't happen in the U.S. too much, So they like the rock and hey, and it was just really overwhelming. But it was a good overwhelming, and those guys too. They're like, here's a sheet. This is what we offer, and then you either choose like some guys do. They have travel rigs now, and with everything being so high tech and computerized, you can fit something in your backpack and travel wherever and still sound like $1 million.
Yeah, like the Kemper, you just put it in your backpack, you plug it into the PA, you're good.
Yep. Or the Helix or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool point. Like when you go to Europe, there's probably guys, like you said, a checklist of amps. That's amazing. And that means that they're probably replacing tubes regularly, everything's maintenanced,
Oh yeah. Or if you happen to go through like a promote
list, that's like a business to keep those amps pristine. Like you just
there's a company
and you know what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's a company here in town called Clearwing, and that's what they do. They rent out amps, cabs,
So can I ask some questions from the beginning? I would like to know where you're from. Where you're from? Were you based in? Were you born?
Well, to all three of those, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so, I've been here, born here, haven't left. I just never really saw the purpose on leaving my home state, unless, like how some people think they'll leave their home state and they'll get famous or whatever. And I always thought, like, if I moved to Chicago, I would make it. And then I was like, you know what, man? I'm like, I don't need to move to Chicago, So no, I've always been here. And I mean, sure, certain geographical states definitely have more advantage, than others.
Milwaukee Metal Fest.
Yeah, ironically, the Metal Fest was the one thing to look forward to for a metalhead for ever.
Yeah, and my good friend Jack Kochik, he managed us for a while, and we were always on like pretty much every one, I think, since like maybe 2 or 3. Just he'd call us up like, hey, Morbid Angel, to the rave. Do you want to open?
Jack Kochik was the guy.
Yeah, he was for a very long time.
So can I ask you when did you start your band? I listened to a lot of stuff all day in the last 2 or 3 days, actually. I listened to a lot of your albums from 94, 95, 90. I listened to a lot of your guys' stuff. So what were you guys inspired by? And how did you choose these dudes? How did you choose your bandmates?
Sure. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but I was a Marine before I decided to be a musician. So I was stationed overseas in Okinawa, Japan.
Oh shit!
And
what age was that?
Oh God, maybe 19, 20, something like that. Yeah, like 20. And I just, I thought I was going to be a lifer. And really just didn't like it. I didn't like the constant travel. So I was like, you know what? I just want to be a musician. So came home. I went to the Conservatory of Music that we have, which is I want to say it's like a Berkeley, but it's kind of like a lower end. A lot of musicians go there. Yeah. And I took a couple rhythm courses just to kind of get myself started. And then I just came out, hit the ground running. I had like a crossover band when I first started, which is my first band, which is like a MOD, SOD kind of type thing. Yeah, right. And then I really fell in love with like Testament and the Anthrax and the heavier, heavy stuff. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do more, I want to do the heavier stuff. And
that was going to be my next question, is that there is any specific band or a specific thing that he had kind of brought you in to this, whatever inspired you to be this,
I always thought Testament had a fantastic sound, and I really wanted to play heavy like those guys. But what really got me into death metal was at the time, especially in Wisconsin, there was a lot of hair metal everywhere. Everybody was a cover band. Yeah. Everybody in this town did covers. Great, phenomenal guitar players in this town, but they all wanted to play covers. Yeah. The only bands that were really more original were like Realm.
Wow.
They, I mean, they were and Taiki
played. Of course, George knows that.
Yeah,
dude, I saw them.
Yeah, and Taiki played on three cover songs that we decided to do later on before the band broke up. So we did the Ozzy tribute and the Merciful Fate tribute, and then we did the Metal Church song. So those were all. He was the guitar player on those 3 songs.
Which Metal Church song?
Metal Church. I just posted it to my page the other day, our version, just because I don't think people ever. If you ever had the Relapse, what is it? Through the Eyes of Death. It's a song on there.
Okay.
Wait,
but was that before Corporate Death? That.
What do you mean?
Well, Relapse said that Corporate Death compilation that came out, I think 94.
No, this is way later. This is 2011 or 12 they put this out.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Eric Greif, who produced our first 2 demos with us, and of course he handles all the death estate stuff and everything, he wanted it on a CD. And so we went through this process in the studio of trying to get him some really good quality, like, versions of those songs on CD. And then he's like, hey, let's, can we put it on a Relapse? And I was like, sure, the kind of springboard the band to 2012. But getting back to what you were saying is my first introduction to death metal was Death Leprosy. And I was working at this record store, and it was a cassette tape. And my buddy said, yeah, like, buy it or something. I stole it. I took it home. I was like, I stole it. I did. I'm honest. I stole it. I put it in my pocket, didn't tell anybody, brought it home, and I was like, wow. Now, the thing is getting back to what I was saying, everybody in town was hair metal, covers, Poison, Motley Crue, and I wasn't that type of player. I wasn't really a Joe solo player either. So when I stumbled on a death metal, I'm like, wait a minute. Some of these bands' solos sound like crap, so I don't think I have to worry about anything. As long as I play my rhythm good and, everything else, then I think I could really do something with this, in this music. And I wasn't even supposed to be the singer originally. We had a singer. And about a week before we went into our first demo, we were just like, God, this guy's not cutting it. It's just not what we're hearing. And last minute, it's like, dude, you're out. And then other musician, local guy here in town helped me. He was a singer. He's like, hey, he actually even came up with the name of the band too. Helped me rewrite the lyrics, kind of more of like to, guitar play and sing to. And after that first demo, it was kind of like just kind of all over. It just kind of, I just kept doing my thing and kind of used Chuck Schuldiner as a big influence and kind of reference on at some points.
It's very cleaned up because if you look at, I'm always going to go back to Fenriz. I always give this huge.
Well, that's way later.
But, I don't like. That's the way I kind of reiterate that is that, everything was supposed to sound really harsh, dirty, and raw.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it seems like it was just kind of that and cleaned up. And,
that's a good point. I mean, I think it's kind of like, I think what you're saying was with Chuck, you take these like dirty, kind of death metal riffs. So you're trying to figure out like where to go from Black Sabbath to make it complicated, but not proggy and not wanky. And
we're just hard and rough and raw.
Well, yeah, Chuck was super important.
Well, and the thing is with Leprosy, it still stands the test of time. And
yeah, it does.
And I've heard that a lot of our first demos where people are like, "Holy crap! I'm just hearing your demo for the first time. I never would have known it was recorded in 1990." Yeah, and that was the one thing.
What's the time difference between those two? Like, it's only like 2 years.
Between what two?
Between your demo and
Leprosy.
Your demo and I mean that's only.
I guess I'm confused. Are you talking about between the first two demos?
No, I think he's asking the time difference between when Leprosy came out and your first demo.
Oh God, probably. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, about like a year, maybe year two. Yeah, about a year. Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean that's not a long period of time.
No, it really isn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Leprosy, their solo ability and all that stuff definitely supersedes most stuff. But it was just one of those things where I knew if I came in. And I knew if I could sing and play, I'd be okay, because a lot of guys at that time weren't really singing and playing at the same time. Yeah, you had Hetfield, you had Mustaine, Tom Araya, but just a lot of like bands we would play with always had a singer, or a lot of times it was a bass player singer, but the guitar player singers, you didn't really see a whole lot of. So I was like, I think I can do this,
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing death metal riffs and singing though, you're like the super musician, you're Mustaine, you're Hetfield, it's
George. What do you want to say?
I was gonna say I'm not that talented. I can't even talk and play the guitar at the same time. One or the other. I can't multitask.
George, I'm not that talented either. It's just I've been doing this for a long time, and it's just like anything else. You get good at something after you keep doing it.
Well, I've been playing for 30 years. I still can't sing while I do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that from a lot of people. They're like, dude, I can't do that. And I'm like, it can be challenging. It really can, depending on the song, because I don't write my lyrics first. I always write them secondary to the music. So you're always kind of like trying to do the puzzle thing, like, well, what can I get away with here? And then my whole thing, too, is I don't like to sing over everything. Just don't. I feel like the song needs air, life, breathe. It needs to breathe. And some guys, and I'm not going to name any bands, but some bands I've been hearing, I'm just like, dude, it starts driving me crazy. I don't want to hear vocals through 4-minute song.
What you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of bands doing that, and not in our genre, but in other genres. And I'm like, yeah, I just can't. I'd like to just give you guys, here you go. I plan out my deliveries and my vocals as best as I can. And I try to make it to the point where I can duplicate that same thing anytime.
I want to ask you about your live show that was in Tillsburg. I don't know where Tillsburg is, but
Tillsburg it's in the net
videos. I actually watched a lot. Go ahead, babe.
Oh, yeah. Tilburg it's in the Netherlands, and I do believe I don't know if it's outside of Denmark, but it's kind of in that area. Amsterdam. It's actually, I think it's an hour from Amsterdam, if I recall. So, very cool.
It was an amazing show.
Honestly, too.
Had a crowd.
We flew in, and we were just dog shit tired. It's like whatever, 12. No, that wasn't too bad. That was a 10-hour flight. That one wasn't too bad. But you got in, and then they put us up in this really, just a beautiful hotel, and we were like maybe a mile and a half away from the venue, and it was just a great time. I think we came in, we got settled, and then I think we tried to take a nap because we had to perform that same night, and so I think we got maybe an hour of sleep or something like that, and then we went right to the venue and socialized and kind of did our thing, and it was a great experience.
I watched it live, and it was incredible. Your crowd was just so awesome. I watched the whole show that you had available on YouTube, and it was just amazing. Your crowd and people that were there for you. Like I said, I had no idea where Tillsburg was.
It's outside of Amsterdam.
And it was, it was amazing.
Yeah, what?
I also wanted to ask you, I also watched your Summerfest video.
From 97, 98?
And, what does it feel like between when you're doing like a daytime, show or tour, opposed to when you go into these, more quiet, deeper places, when you're playing, small venues that are absolutely going there and they're paying to see you there, and then opposed to
big festival.
Big festivals, or out in the middle of the daytime, or
I think really it's just you have to be professional about anything and everything in this business, and I think with us we're definitely professional. So regardless of the time or the day or whenever a show's happening, you're going to get a Morta Skuld set. You're going to get 100%. So I personally prefer earlier shows. The older I get, I hate staying up till like 3, 4, 5 in the morning. It just I just don't like it. We did a couple of shows. We did like 5 or 6 show run with Skeletal Remains last year, and it was just the 2 bands on most of the shows, and I loved it because it's like, holy shit, we're done by 10:30. We're in the hotel by midnight. I'm up at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is awesome. Compared to 2017 tour, we maybe hit the hotel at 5 in the morning. Slept till 10, get up, and then repeat, cycle, rinse. So I personally like the other ones, but the festivals I probably enjoy the most because a lot of stuff is there for you. They're going to feed you, going to make sure, you got beer, water, whatever. All the equipment is usually already there for you. You don't have to lug anything around. So you're more free to just go and play instead of being like, road manager. I pretty much play. Yeah. So I like the festivals, but I mean, I like regular small intimate shows too, because I look at it this way. It's like if we play in front of 10 people that really, really dig us, then I did my job.
Right. That's awesome.
So how do you feel about the whole no shows thing with COVID and everything? I mean,
I fucking despise it. I fucking despise it. I'm sick of this shit. I have never been so down just mentally in my life, and I'm not a weak person. Not saying that. I'm sorry, that probably came out wrong. I'm not saying. No. I didn't mean that in a bad way or to offend anybody with that have issues. So please.
Well, it's what you look forward to, and it's not happening right now.
Well, it's not only that, but my European tour got canceled. My stateside tour got canceled. We just had an album that dropped 3 weeks ago, and I can't do nothing to promote it. I feel helpless. And we're not Anthrax, we're not Megadeth. We don't, we're not getting thousands of dollars in royalties. I mean, we get a little bit here and there, but it's nothing to live off of. And George, I hate this. It sucks. Yeah. I think personally, and this is just my opinion, I think if you want to go see a band, you go see a band. It's like anything else in any other day or time or year. You're at your own risk. I mean, I remember back in the day when we would do shows at the rave, and kids would get upset if they didn't leave with a bloody nose or a busted lip. Like they thought the show was shit if they didn't get roughed up.
Right.
And so now it's completely different. But I'll say this much. I really do. I think it should be at the door. If you're going to come in, you got to come in at your own risk. And I think it really should be up to the fans, whether they want to go see shows or not. And just.
Yeah. I know a lot of bands, because of COVID, have pushed back their release dates and stuff. Was September your plan all along to release the album, or?
Yeah, it actually was. We didn't, when I negotiated this record with Peaceville, I kind of had to beg them a little bit because I'm kind of like, hey man, I'm like, Wounds is getting old. It's getting old. We got to do something new here. And we really wanted to put something out. And when they finally gave us the green light, we were like, oh shit, we still got 2 more songs, because a lot of people don't realize this, but you have to have a certain length of songs or so many songs. Otherwise, right, they can't put it on Spotify. There's certain formats they can't put it on if it's below a certain minutes or certain tracks. Yeah. So I know it's crazy because personally me, I like writing short albums. Half hour to me is perfect, but labels no, you got to have 40 minutes or whatever. So, okay, fine. So we had to write 2 more songs quick, and we were like, holy shit. No, we were always slated. When we went in the studio too, it was pretty much right after COVID broke. We were like, whoa, what the heck, what's going on? So we were in the studio during this whole process, and we, our producer, he has to run a business. So, we had to be real careful about things, and, maybe 1 or 2 guys in the studio, so we did practice some etiquette and stuff like that, just so people don't think we're, trying to kill their families or something, and, we practiced, because that's what he wanted. So we're like, okay, we're going to be cool. So 1 or 2 guys, if you're tracking, and then the other guy might be listening. And then, so yeah. And I mean, we had, we wiped the studio down, and, we were all very conscious about trying to keep clean and all that stuff. And we tracked for probably a couple of months, just weekends, because only able to do weekends. So probably about 6 or 7 weekends. But that was, it was scheduled from in the September release. I thought, like you, was going to get pushed back or postponed, and they were like, nope, we're going ahead. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be honest, the press side of it, with the COVID and all that, it really got affected. So big magazines like Decibel and Metal Hammer, their what do you call it? Their issues are smaller.
Yep.
And now they're really picking out certain bands only to, because let's face it, right now, all the bands are in this same position. And if you're at this level, well, you're going to get first pick now. And that's what I'm afraid of next year is hopefully, God willing, shows resume. I'm afraid because I'm thinking all these big bands are going to come and scoop up all the venues and all the dates. And then the bands at our level are going to be like, we may be left with nothing. We don't know yet.
I do think that there is a possibility, though, of due to the big bands and the big bullshit, is that I do think that there are a lot of, people from the underground shit that are coming up and saying, fuck this.
Yeah.
And we're moving up. We're going to move up.
And I think contrary to that too, like all the bands that were douchebags that were just living off the touring cycle.
I think that's gonna
like that's just disintegrated. Now it's actually gonna. I don't know. I think it's a big filter that's happening, but I think what you're doing right now, like being on podcasts and promoting yourself in that way,
I do think a lot of
absolutely.
Like we got to build hype around what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, you came on our show and. We're excited. We tried to do a cross, podcast with George because he loves your new album. And
it's awesome meeting everybody. Just George, everybody. Yeah, it's real awesome to be here too.
But just get the word out there. Just give people.
Well, and that's kind of I was talking with my press agent, and she's like, you know what? Because I even said to her like right before the record, I go, where's all this press? I mean, when Wooden Deeper Than Time came out, I was buried. I was on vacation in California, and I was doing interviews and stuff like that for all these big magazines while I was on vacation because it was like, we got to get this done now. And I asked them right before the record came out, I said, what's going on? And they said, you wouldn't believe how hard it is. We're sending stuff out to everybody. And she goes, some places have gone out of business. Mm-hmm. Some are still not in the office.
Yeah, she said. I thought it was really interesting that you brought up about how the magazines are smaller because I was talking to one of the guys at Decibel, and he was telling me he's like, this next issue you're going to notice it's like 15 pages smaller than usual.
And that's funny you say that, George, because this last issue, 3-4 years ago, we did like an interview and all that stuff, and this time we weren't able to. They did do a review on us, Decibel, which I really appreciate them because they're very well respected.
Yeah, great people there.
Absolutely. So I mean, they seem to like the record as well. So I was really appreciative. And then my buddy who bought the issue sent me a screenshot because the label took out like an ad for the album. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But he even mentioned that. He goes, yeah, it's like this thin,
Yeah, it's really thin.
And it just, yeah. And the label was even telling us that some people were asking for money to do interviews and stuff like that. So getting back to what they were saying about people like living off the tour cycle, now you're seeing bands do live streaming shows now and they're charging for it. And somebody asked me about that. Like, well, what do you think? And I said, I guess if you're at that level, do you?
Yeah, like Enslaved, I know, has been doing a bunch of those. And
so you don't mind paying for that?
Not me. I wouldn't pay for it.
Okay.
Some of the other guys on the podcast do.
No.
I'm not a huge watch concerts on my computer kind of guy. Either I'm there or I'm not. So for me, I'm like, it's a hard pass for me. But
I do not want to have to watch concerts on screen. I don't.
I get it though. I mean,
we're supporting the band.
I do.
It's a way to
support the band. That's the only
it's a way to support them, and I support that. It's just not something that I want to watch.
I see what you're saying.
I prefer not to do that.
And Maggie and Jeremy and all of us, we look forward to if we buy a ticket, it's like an event.
It's
at our house.
Thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And before the whole COVID thing, is that we're gonna go to Baroness. And we're going to go to Down. And we're going to go to, we've been to how many shows over the last, Mastodon and all these shows that these bands I really, really like. And we actually paid a lot of money before COVID to see these shows. I probably paid more money for these tickets than Behemoth, Mastodon.
Right. You know, the big concerts.
Well, you know, the thing is that
the thing is it now, it's not like they're in sync or Britney Spears.
It just gives you something to look
they're
forward
not
to.
making.
I would hope they're not
money
like
right now.
It's
Britney
like
Spears.
the podcast. It like gives you something to look forward to and
They're
sit
not
around.
making
It's-
any money right now.
it's equal parts. It's equal parts music and social. It's our opportunity to go out and be with our people. You know, I haven't even been in the same room with the other guys in the podcast since January.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
100%.
And so I'm like, that's what I miss. I mean, yes, I miss live music, but I also miss the camaraderie of going to see live music and hanging out and having beers with your buddies and, you know, being at the show and going, hey, and seeing people, you know.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
Well, that's something that a lot of people are asking us, are we going to do something? Are we going to do streaming? You know, like I said, our label's like, hey, why don't you practice, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, if I'm going to do something, I want it to sound good. I'm not saying that we sound bad at practice, but, you know, mics and, you know, I'm just going to put my phone up and, you know, it's not going to sound good. So we're so far, I think we're going to do something in November at a local pub that, you know, we're going to get, you know, just like we're playing a live show, but we're going to get all mic'd up and a bunch of different cameras. And, but instead of doing it live, it's going to be done live, but we're not streaming it live. And we're going to cut it up per song. And then once a week, I'm just going to post a song. So it's going to be kind of like a mini live video. And I'm just going to try to pick one song off of each album.
That's very
And
cool.
then, yeah, so, you know, that's kind of our idea. It'll be free. It'll be on YouTube. And you know, we just figure it's just, you know, you got to keep people's attention. And it's real hard these days because there's like 8 million bands out there. And it's tough. It's tough.
Now because of COVID, there's also like 8 million podcasts now. No offense, Steve.
And about
It's true.
Good one, George.
I totally missed that, George.
Hey, real quick though, I do want to know, where is everybody from? What state is everybody? I don't care who starts, but I want to know where everyone's from.
It's in my notes.
No, yeah, we're.
Do you have notes on where you live?
From Chicago.
I have a name tag. What's my name?
George is from
Actually, I'm all over. I was born in Pennsylvania.
Jeremy is from,
but I grew up in Michigan, so I'm Midwest. And now I live in Maryland.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. My girlfriend's got a family. Yes.
Jeremy, what about you?
I went to high
Jeremy,
school
where you
with
from?
Steve, and then now we live like 15 minutes away from each other. So, yeah.
I don't know him.
Who's next?
Yeah, we've been from the same area our whole lives, pretty much.
Yeah,
Nice.
we've been hanging out since we're like 12.
Okay. Who's next?
I guess.
I think you.
Was that?
Oh God. I was.
Check your notes, Maggie. Check your notes.
Really?
I think you're from Wisconsin.
Oh. Just do the Amy Coney thing.
Oh,
just check your accent.
No. All right. I was born in Rockford, and then kind of raised a little bit in Arkansas, and then went back to Rockford, and then went back, I think, to Arkansas, and then went to South Beloit, Illinois, and then Beloit, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
And then Baraboo.
Beloit, Wisconsin's kind of rough.
Rockford. It was
Rockford's.
and then I went into Wisconsin Dells.
Oh, wow. You're all over.
Went back to probably Beloit, and then went back to Rockford, and then went back to Reedsburg and to Baraboo, then Reedsburg, and then probably back to.
I want to be like putting pins on the map here with like
right
string to connect all these back and forth.
Well,
where's Waldo?
Makes sense just to say like how many schools you went to.
22 different schools.
Wow. That is a lot.
22
before 10th grade.
Wow.
I went to one.
Oh, it's good for you. I love it.
That's actually not true. I spent like half of kindergarten in a different city, but after that, all one place.
Oh my God!
It's totally the same thing, George.
In second grade, I went to 7 schools.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah.
So I cannot say. I have a lot of hometowns. There are a lot of hometowns. There are places that I lived for, a good amount of time that I could say that they were all my hometowns. I have probably 20 hometowns.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a long
But I do really, really adjust to Wisconsin. And so when Steven told me that you were from Wisconsin, he had told me that you were from like northern Wisconsin.
No, I'm from the city. I'm in Milwaukee. I am in Milwaukee. However, 2 of my band members are from northern Wisconsin.
Oh,
so
I've
always been in Milwaukee.
Oh,
where's Sheboygan?
Sheboygan is about an hour north from where I'm at, Milwaukee.
Okay, yeah, I used to know a guy from Sheboygan.
Out by the lake.
Yeah. No, Sheboygan used to be. And back in the '90s, the Croatian Hall, dude, we'd be there with like Realm and Rabbit Captor, Morbid Saint.
Them too.
Maybe like 400 people, just 400 kids, just crazy.
I remember all that.
Those are really good times.
I'm trying to get Jimmy from Flesh Grind or Jungle Rot.
Jungle Rot. Yeah, I know Jimmy.
Of course they do.
Absolutely. My drummer Eric House used to be in Jungle Rot.
Oh, okay. Do you know like Rick Hernandez?
Yeah, I know Rick real well.
Yeah,
real good guy.
Yeah,
real good guy. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, he's a super, super cool guy, man.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Well, I actually got referred to you by Rob.
Yeah, and Rob and I have been friends for a very long time as well. We don't see each other that often, unfortunately, but we way in the early 90s hung out a lot more. And
touche. I wish we could like high five.
High five.
No, we got a lot of the same friends, but yeah, it was cool. Like I told Rob, I'm like, I'm doing a podcast, and he's like, hold on. And then he gave me your information. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Dab George.
So I don't want to keep this going too much because I know you got your son, and
I'm good. My girlfriend's home sitting with him, so I got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Oh, good for you.
Other than the COVID circumstances of the album, what else can you tell us about the new album, Suffer for Nothing, in terms of just the music itself?
Yeah. Well, George, we after Wounds Deeper Than Time came out, we had a little bit of time, and we decided to write a couple of songs. So I think Dead Weight, The Face I Hate, and I can't think of it. We wrote like 2 or 3 songs, and then got busy with festivals and then some tours, and then came back, wrote another 3 songs, went out and did some more festivals, came back, and then we were like, hey, we really got to, get in gear. We got to really, get these tunes ironed out. And we probably had about 7 songs done, and then, started negotiating with the label, and they're like, well, you got to have more. So then we were like, okay, well, now we got to kick it into gear because we got like 2 months till we record. And I like to really well, so I just can come in and lay things down and, be done with it. The tracking process went real smooth. Eric came in, knocked his drums out about 5 hours. Most of us, 2, 3, 4 hours, knocked the tracks out. We didn't really, death metal for me, it's you don't need to be like a Metallica and sit and cut and paste. And we played one riff, and that was one thing that irritated me about that band is like they one riff, and then like let's take a 3-hour break, and we'll come back, we'll do another riff, and then we'll put them together and paste everything. Like they never seem to play all their songs all the way through. So with us, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
something that comes up on our podcast all the time is the Black Album. Where do you stand on the Black Album? I'm the only guy on our show that will listen to that album.
My notes.
The thing. The Black Album for me when it came out. My notes. Well, I remember at that time, Headbangers Ball. My guys, we at the lineup at that time, we'd all get together every Saturday. We'd sit, we get hammered, we watch Headbangers Ball.
Yep.
Enter Sandman comes on. We're like,
Yes.
My drummer fully endorsed it. He's like, oh, this is great, Mm-hmm. I don't really like it as a whole. I think there's a couple of okay. I think like what they like the production of the songs are good. Like the sound is good. But the direction they went is like, wait a minute, you just went from A Justice to All to this. What happened?
Well, that was a reaction to them having to play the Justice songs live. They were like, these songs are too fucking long. They have way too many parts. We got to simplify this shit so that we can play it live and not kill ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, when you get to that level of like where they were and the management and the money and everything else. Bob Rock, I mean, come on, Motley Crue, Bob Rock. I mean, I think they knew what they were going to get, and I think it's ironic now as they're trying to chase their past now, and I really don't. To me, the only album that they've done in the last 10 years that I've even liked was I actually like Death Magnetic.
Yeah, it's a great album.
I thought that was a great record. Their last album to me was just complete garbage. I just thought they were trying to rehash. Like I could pick out Death Magnetic songs, like they had these songs either left over or something. You could just tell it just wasn't. I don't know. It's just when you get to that point, why do another record? You got millions already. Why do you need millions more? I never understood it. It's like you're already famous, you're already legendary, and your past records. Why? I mean, I could see a band like that doing a song here or a song there. Like, we're gonna do like 2 songs. We'll throw them out on Spotify. We'll make a couple million, be done with it. But to record a whole album and then spend all that money and I don't know. But
a double album, no less.
Oh God! Don't get me started. Yeah.
Oh God!
Reload, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, come on, guys, come on.
I saw that reaction.
I will say, and I completely agree with you. But if you listen to a song like "The Day That'll Never Come," like it's good. Like it's got that build up, kind of like The Unforgiven, which is a cool song. That's a great song on the Black Album. They did like 3 versions of it. And then it goes into like this Justice for All thing. But then the solo comes up and Kirk Hammett is trying to go from like Santana, what he's been doing over the Load albums, to like, trying to tap, but it just, I don't know. It just came off weird.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think now the older I get in life, I can appreciate the Black Album a little bit, but like, would I go out and buy it? No. Would I sit down and listen to it? Probably not.
We all know the whole album, like of Wolf and as Man. I think it's
of Wolf and Man.
I think it's of Wolf and Man.
Yeah.
For me at the time when it came out, some of those songs meant a lot to me. I mean, I was a bit transient at the time, and so Wherever I May Roam really struck a chord. Not like literally transient, but just like couch hopping and stuff.
Sure.
And Unforgiven has always like meant a lot to me. So I totally get why people don't like it.
George.
Yeah.
It was my first concert. That was it. Like they still had long hair. They put out the Black Album. I was super looking forward to seeing them.
I took a limo to see that tour. It was like the only time I've ever been in a limo was to go see Metallica on the Black Album tour.
Yeah, and the opening band was Metal Church.
That would have been.
So they still had that.
Maybe they did that for me too. That was like Blessing in Disguise or something, right? It was after.
No, I think it was The Human Factor.
Oh, The Human Factor. Okay.
Yeah, because it was around the same time that like things were getting weird. Like Wrathchild America went to like Souls at Zero. You remember that? And they had that song like 1990, and
Loved Wrathchild.
Like all these bands were kind of creeping up. Like MOD became Mindfunk.
Yeah, I loved that album too. It's weird, but some of the songs were good.
I'll say this about Metallica.
Yeah,
that we've done like this is our 8th episode, and Metallica's come up in 5 of them. I think like we seriously cannot stop talking about Metallica, and nobody likes them. Really, so
stop it.
They come up on every episode of ours. That's so that you can probably blame me for that.
They're like a measuring stick, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
they are.
That's
well,
really all there is.
I mean, the first depending on
3, 4.
For me, it's like the first like 4 records, and I'm just like, wow. Like, I mean, there's just I think I was a teenager sitting in my room jamming Ride the Lightning.
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was the greatest.
Well,
kind of like what George was saying. I really resonated with Ride the Lightning. I was in school and I wasn't doing well, and I had some family problems, and that album was just very aggressive, and it's just plug in the headphones. What are you trying to show us there?
Yeah, I was like, is that your underwear? What is that?
I have Metallica
Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, right.
Nice. Yeah, when Ride the Lightning
at Walmart
and
like 25 years ago. I don't know. They smell like mothballs.
That's disgusting.
Better than your balls.
all up my face.
But
Anyway, I'm sorry I totally derailed your train of thought there with the Metallica question.
Yeah. Keep on topic, George.
Sorry, that's not how I roll.
Yeah.
So my question for you is like, what like inspired you to start your band? Like, what was there a main band? Was there something that before the 90s? Because I listened to your albums from 93, 94, 95. I listened to As Humanity Fades and For All Eternity, and what was your major inspiration before that?
Well, for me, like I said, I was in the Marines. And I just kind of was like, this isn't for me. And I know when I was a teenager, I think I was like a freshman in high school, and one of my buddies, we went to grade school together. We were going to high school together, and he's like, hey, man, he's like, let's go out, let's get Pizza Hut, whatever. And they had his jukebox, and he played Black Sabbath. And I'm like, what? What the? I never heard this. So that really kind of sucked me in. And at the same time, Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz had just come out. So I had like these two. I'm like, wait a second. So I remember for Christmas, I asked my mom to buy me every cassette that was Black Sabbath, Ozzy, anything. And I just remember Randy Rhoads was such a phenomenal guitar player for the short time he was with us. And I just remember like, man, I'd love to be a guitar player. I tried. I didn't grasp it as a young kid. And I just thought, I don't know, maybe I could be a vocalist, So just a lot of really what just sitting in my bedroom just with headphones on and singing to songs and imitating stuff and just thinking that just picturing myself on some huge stage and, and stuff like that really. And I just being in the Marines, I think they instilled stuff that was already there for me. And it was just my persistence of, in the Marines, you just, you don't quit. You just don't quit. No matter what happens or what's thrown at you, you just don't quit.
So what drew you to choose the people that you decided to make this band with?
I think it was really just happenstance, to be honest with you. The very first band I was in started and then lost a couple guys, and then it just kind of started forming into what became Morta Skuld. It's really, matter of fact, the guys that were on the first demo were all kids. I mean, I was the only adult. They were all, Jason was like 16. I think Jesse was 16. Kevin was like 15, 16. So they were really young kids, maybe 17. So I mean, I didn't really pick them, so to speak. We just kind of came together. We all knew what we kind of wanted to do, and it took probably about a good year of the lineup change to get that Gory Departure sound. And then we're like, okay, this is, that sets, to me, that's really the ground level of Morta Skuld sound right there, is that demo, So it was just persistence, really. I was just like, I told my family, I was like, yeah, I said, I'm gonna be a musician. They're like, what? Really? Why? They're like, they're a dime a dozen. I'm like, I said, no. I said, I told them, I said, I'm gonna get signed. I'm gonna do a record. And they were like, no. And then like within a year, I had my first record. We had a record deal with Peaceville. It's not, it's not Metallica or Megadeth, nothing like that on that level. But at that time in the '90s. Well, in that time in the '90s, to get signed to a label, a 3-record deal to a label was a pretty big thing. So, and that's kind of, just kept going from there.
So, do you mind if I ask a question? Like Peaceville,
no.
Like, that label, when it was happening, it was pretty much the stalwart for like the metal doom, Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride,
Autopsy. Sure.
Yeah, I mean everything. And your was it your demo was on Def?
R.I.P.
No, the first 2 demos were just self-released by us, and what happened was the tape trading was so rampant at that time. I got a call. Yeah, I got a call from Def Records, which was a subsidiary of Peaceville, saying, "Hey, man, we really want to pick you guys up. Your tape is it's in everybody's." House and or whatever, and we're like, sure, and Dying Remains was originally on Def Records, and when Def Records got bought out by Peaceville decided to buy or to keep 2 bands on the Peaceville roster, and we happened to be one of them. So
nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. We were like, oh yes, yeah, thank you.
And you guys are still selling merch on Peaceville, right?
All of our first 3 records are all reissued and available at peaceville.com, as well as Wounds Deeper Than Time and then Suffer for Nothing being the newest one. Those are all available at Peaceville.
I saw that earlier.
After you recorded those 3 albums, there was like, a pretty large gap there. So
yes.
What went on after your 3rd album?
Well, after the 3rd album, we finished our contract up at Peaceville, and we're like, we're not done yet. So we started writing material, and we wrote a 4-song demo, and we shopped it. And at the time, grunge was huge, and death metal was not so huge. So we were really having a hard time finding a label, and we couldn't find anybody. So we were like, you know what, we're just going to write. Huh?
It would be like 93, 94, 95.
Oh, this is 97?
No, the Limp Bizkit years.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So,
it would have been like...
Right, so basically what we did was we had these 2 4-song demos, and we put them together, and we decided we're just going to release it ourselves. And then as soon as we started doing that, I was at an Oppressor Malevolent Creation show in Illinois, and I was hanging out with my buddies from Oppressor, and Phil from Malevolent comes in, and him and I back then we were like really good friends. I mean, not that we're not now, but we don't really stay in touch very often. But he was always a super cool guy, and he was like, "What's that song?" I'm like, "It's Killing Machines." He's like, "That song rips, man. I'm calling Pavement, and I'm telling them to pick you up for this record." And and then all of a sudden we're like, "Hey, we want to use your record." And I'm like, "Crap, we just ordered."
No, well, that was right around the time when Oppressor put out the Elements album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually went on a tour with them. It was supposed to be a tour, but it was 2 shows. I think it was Gorguts, Nile, Oppressor, and us up in Michigan. And I remember, and there was
that was pre Gorguts. No, it was probably right before when Gorguts put out Obscura.
Yeah, I think so. All I know is we went up there and nobody showed up.
Where in Michigan was it?
Oh man, you'd have to ask my other guitar player. His memory's better than mine. I think it was in the city. It was it used to be like this big famous The Rock something or
was it Detroit?
I think it was. Yeah.
I mean, there was Harpo's,
Harpo's.
Blondie's,
like the Rock Doctor or something, or the. I can't remember. I just remember getting there, going like, "This is gonna be so awesome," and like 2 people paid to get in, and that was it. I was like, wow. And this is when Niles' like first record came out. And
I'll be right back. I have to pee.
Thank you for letting us know that.
There's backstory there.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was that pizza.
Anyway.
She'll let us know how the weather is when she comes back.
Where were we?
Oh, that was a cool time. Like in
I know.
Midwest death metal history.
Yeah, I went to the first and possibly only Michigan Death Fest in 1991.
Oh man.
And Morbid Angel headlined with Altars of Madness.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
That'd been a good one.
And there, Sacrifice was there as well. I think those were the only bands that I really remember as like having, you know, like lived past that show. There's a band called Nuclear Death, which I know they are sort of an icon of the old days. But yeah. I love being able to talk to people that remember the old days.
Oh God. I tell you, man, some of those metal fests were, I mean, I'll never forget it. The very first Metal Fest we got on, like I said, I can't remember. I got the passes sitting right in back of me. I probably could find which one, but I don't know if it was 2 or 3 or what it was. It was still pretty in its infancy, you know. And I just remember going like, dude, we got on. And I remember looking at our day sheet, and it's like 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, huh? I'm not even awake at 9:30 in the morning. So, yeah, so we're like 9:30 in the morning. You got 15 minutes. Boom. I think we got to play like 2.5 songs. We're like, okay, cool. Next year comes around. We played at like 11 a.m., you know, got 20 minutes or whatever. And then as we progressed, we got more and more. And then I think one of the last ones, Suffocation went on before us. Huh. And I was like, and I'm sitting at the side of the stage just watching them. And Frank and I, too, I've lost touch with a lot of people over the years, unfortunately. And Frank and I were really good friends. I mean, because we both had kids at the same time. We'd write each other, you know, great guy. And I remember him coming off a stage, and he's like, dude, your turn, rip it up. And I'm like, dude, I don't even want to go on now. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Yeah.
Are you serious? It was hard. I mean, we did it, but it was hard. But, I mean, I just remember that. And you know, like I said, it just kind of kept progressing, and our time slots started getting later and later. But I remember the one thing in the first couple of years, and this is the only reason, no bullshit, why we even wanted to play, was because we knew Jack put up all the bands at the same hotel, and we were just super fans. Like, I met Alex Webster. He played some bumpy club way back in the day here, and I met those guys for the first time, and they just came out of this van, you know, and they drove all the way from I think they were in New York at the time. But just meeting the band, like we would literally go to the hotel after the show and just run from room to room to room. Or I was hanging with Kelly from Atheist, and then I was over with Alice from Cannibal, and I'm hanging with Phil from Malevolent, and we were really, and even after the Metal Fest, I don't know if this was, I don't know when this was, but I know north of us, 2 hours in Green Bay, there was a show put on in like with this big theater, and it was like us and Malevolent and not Cannibal, I can't think, but just some really huge bands, and it was just a fucking amazing time. And just hanging out and just going to the rooms and just hanging out with these guys was like something I lived for. It was just something I lived for. And I thought it was awesome just to like hang out with dudes at Cannibal. Like you just saw them play. They ripped it up. And they're sitting in their hotel room smoking a joint or drinking a beer. We do that at Decibel Fest. Because we know the hotel that Decibel puts everybody up in. And so we stay there too. And, you know, hang out in the lobby, and, you know, bands just come and go, and you're just like hanging out. Hey, have a beer, you know, and exactly. Cool. Yeah, it really is. And I really think that's the best memories for me was just going to hang out with those guys and create that bond. And, you know, I mean, back in the day, I was pen pals with everybody, you know, the guys at Napalm and the guys at Carcass, the guys at Entomb. I was pen pal, Carl from Bolt Thrower. I even remember Carl from Bolt Thrower got a picture of me and him. It looks like we're like fucking dating or something, you know, back in the 90s and shit. And I was married at the time to this really evil person, and we were you know, just got married, and I was like, you know, it started snowing, and both of us played at Croatian Hall in Sheboygan. which is where we would always play too. And I just remember, like, just being freshly married. And I'm going, God, I want to go up there. And I just looked at, my wife. I'm like, I'm going. And I literally trudged out in the snow. It was really awful too. And I trudged out in the snow, and I get up there, and I don't know if I think he might have put me on the list. I don't know, or I paid, whatever, who knows. I get in, and all of a sudden, Carl locks eyes with me as he's on stage. I missed maybe the first song or so. He locks eyes with me and starts talking to me. He stopped singing the lyrics. Oh, Dave, mate. Oh, yes, come here. And there, you hear, and he's like, no, come here. And he's like, and there's 400 fucking kids. Everybody's screaming, and he's signaling me with the mic in his hand, talking to come over to the side of the stage so they could let me backstage and to watch him. Nice. And nicest guy, one of my fondest memories. And that guy just, man, I don't talk to him too much. Every once in a while I'll Facebook him, and once in a while he'll respond, but not too often. But back in the day, it was cool, man. I mean, I drove fucking hour and a half just to hang out and see some tunes.
Love Bolt Thrower.
Mm-hmm. Memoriam's really good too, though.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about them, and I saw them at Wacken a couple of years ago, and they were fucking awesome. I know. That was my holy pilgrimage, holy grail show. I went to see Emperor play Anthems at the Welcome to the Welcome at Dusk in its entirety.
Wow.
And that said, the rest of Wacken doesn't matter. No, but and that was Warl Dane's last Wacken with he was at a sanctuary. So I saw him a couple months before he died. It was an amazing. If you ever have a chance to go to Wacken, I cannot recommend it enough. It is amazing.
Well, my girlfriend, she wants to go. We were gonna take a trip to Europe, and unfortunately, the tour thing was supposed to happen and all that, so we postponed it. And then with COVID, we even postponed it more. But I kind of told her, I was like, she wants to go over for a couple weeks, and I'm like, you'll run out of money or something. I said we should pick something like you said, Wacken, and just go and make it a weekend and just really take in the music. And because she's a huge Death fan too, so the Death discs are always up on our wall.
Yeah, I had tickets for this year because the Merciful Fate reunion.
Ooh,
but that canceled. So we've got tickets for next year now, whatever that may be.
Very cool. Very cool. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's something else, I tell you. After after going to shows here, I mean, you go to MDF or Decibel. These are great fests. But they are not a zit on the ass of Wacken. I mean,
right. I mean, even California Death Fest, we did 3 years. Actually, this weekend, 3 years ago, we did California Death Fest, and I had a blast. I had a blast doing that too, and I had a blast doing Maryland, Netherlands. I honestly would have to say is probably my favorite, and I just think because it was the overseas aspect. I mean, Maryland,
just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland was awesome. I mean,
sure.
I remember when we were playing that day, and I'm like, holy shit! How many people are here?
Yeah, Ram's Head's pretty good, but
it's got to be 1,500, right? Would you say 1,500 or more?
Yeah, it's probably reasonable.
Okay,
but MDF used to have the parking lot,
right?
The outdoor aspect where you could fit a lot more people, and that to me was the greatest because I mean, you got to see bigger bands. I mean, Mayhem played there, and we had was it Arcturus? I think. I don't know, but I mean, because they could bring more people in, they had bigger bands, of course, and but they also had all the other stages going as well. I mean, so there were just technically more bands, more people, and but the Rams Head shows are awesome too.
Oh yeah, no, that whole thing was. I was very whoa. I was very overwhelmed. There's a lot of people.
Who else played that day that you played? Because I was there all the days, and so I don't remember which people were there.
You know what? Blood Incantation.
That's right.
I know they played because I remember going. I had never heard of them, and my friend. I don't know. Do you know Frank Rini?
Mm-mm.
Old. He used to sing for Internal Bleeding.
Okay.
And Frank and I are really, really good friends, and he lives in Maryland, and he came down to hang out, and I saw him talking with Jeremy from Broken Hope, and Jeremy and I go way back, and I said, hey, what's up? Hey, how's it going? We start talking, all of a sudden, these guys come walking up, and Frank's like, oh, yeah, and I'm like, who are these guys? Blood Incantation. I'm like, oh, cool, and never heard of them before.
They're really trendy, I didn't know what to,
well, I didn't know what
in as much as death metal is trendy.
Well, see, and that's sometimes kind of, I'm not taking anything away from them at all, but like I think sometimes when people review us, they like have them in the back of their mind. And it's like we're not them. We're old. We're the old. They're now. We come back from the '90s, and I'm not disrespecting those guys. I mean, those guys are fantastic, in their own rights. But what I'm saying is, I think because I've kind of noticed that when I read the reviews, you kind of read into that, and they're like, I feel like they're comparing us to some of the more trendier bands that are bigger now, and it's like I'm like, we never ever George said we were here to reinvent the wheel, or that we were going to do something earth shattering. We just want to write a good death metal record,
and that's why I love your new album, because it's old school without any dust and mold on it. It's just it's not like it's not like, oh, I've heard this a million times before. It's fresh, but it's also familiar.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the producer, he was real dead set. We sent him a pre-production of the songs, and he was like, I want to get this record to sound like you guys are at practice. I want to capture that sound. So we didn't do it. This record, we didn't do any reamping. There's no sampling. It's just straight. I'm playing through my amp. My drummer too. I mean, amazing drummer. He just played his drums. We really didn't. As far as I know, we didn't edit anything. We didn't. We just went in and played. And
yeah, he's great. Where did you find him?
Well, he used to be in Jungle Rot, and he wasn't doing much for a couple of years, and we were recommended to him by a friend of mine. I don't know who it was at the time, and we called him and said, hey, man, you interested? And he's like, oh, I'm too busy with work. I can't, I was like, oh, crap, and a couple of months go by, and he's like, hey, you still looking? And I said, yeah. He's like, I'm available. And we met him in TGI Fridays. We met here in Milwaukee, and he's sitting at the end of the bar with a beer, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fine, And I remember him auditioning, too. He's like, what song? I said, what do you mean, what song? He's like, what song you want to play? He goes, I've been a fan of yours since I was 16. He goes, I know all the songs. I'm like, well, that's a problem because we don't know all the songs. You know what I mean? So, but he came in, and the songs that we did know, he really did a great job. And I just think every album he gets better. He's not one of those guys where he likes to do the same thing twice. So if I write a riff and he thinks it sounds like something else, he'll be like, yeah, that sounds a little too close to something we already did. It kind of frustrates me sometimes because I'm like, dude, just here's the riff. Let's I want to get the song done, but but he'll like, yeah, let's try it this way or whatever. And he's very musically inclined. He went to school for music. So he'll be like, yeah, he's really good with note placements. I think he wrote 2 riffs on one of the songs on the record. So, I mean, he's a very good guitar player as well. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I really like to just make sure that we come forth and just bring a good death metal record. And I'm not trying to be anybody else except for Morta Skuld. And, people don't like it. That's fine. Cause not everybody's going to like everything. So, it's like food. Not everybody likes the same food. So, each their own.
A lot of your guys' albums. I spent actually my entire day listening to everything that you did since 1990. And then, your album from 93, 94, 95. I spent a lot of time listening.
Well, thank you.
She did.
Just listening to everything that you had done since, I guess 1990, 93, 94, 95. And you guys have you have an individual thing. And I absolutely appreciated what you guys were doing.
Well, thank you. It's the thing is too is it's like I said, I'm not downplaying anybody. Everybody's got their own thing, and everybody has a place in this music. It's just I've been doing it for 30 years. It's something I love to do. I'm really blessed that we have the fan base that we do. Sometimes I get like, man, I wish I was bigger. I wish we were, up here. Because I work very hard at this, and I'm very passionate about it. And it's rough sometimes. It's like anything else. There's a lot of rejection in this type of business. And like especially when you're shopping your record, you don't have a label, and everybody's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And you spend all this time, countless hours away from your family, and I mean, God, I can't tell you. I'm always writing inside my head. I'd be in the car, get a little microphone, and add a fish or whatever.
It is like that.
Right.
My husband, he has. There's a couple of of his friends or musicians that are his friends that
Well, it's always time. Like, you only have so much time. So
right.
You dedicate, yourself to
from the house or from the kids or from our life or whatever. Like, I can never tell him, no, you can't go and do that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you only have 100% of your time. Like, that's it. Like, so you could stretch it out however you want to. If you want to give 40% to this, everything else after that becomes like really,
regardless, he has
exaggerated
one
and
or two friends.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else, and that's why I think sometimes, us as metalheads sometimes are a little too critical. Like
no,
we'll slant. Right? No. Like we were talking about the Black Album, right? How many people, now and then you think about it, and you go, well, like, man, they dedicated a very large chunk of their life to write the record, to record the record, to I guess the behind scenes things that people don't see. Like for us, we're recording Suffer for Nothing. We're driving a half hour one way. Weekends you're taking, you're tracking all day. You sacrifice a lot, I guess, and that's what I've always told people. That if you really love something, you're gonna sacrifice a lot of personal time. And I'm very fortunate that I have a very awesome girlfriend that's like, go do your thing, and family that's supportive about it too. But it's like anything else, it's like you guys obviously have a labor of love right here. I'm on your labor of love right now. So I mean, it goes both ways, and I think we're all somewhat musicians in our own right. You guys are behind the mic, I'm behind the mic. Well,
the thing is that if with my husband, I met him as a musician. I met him as somebody who played music, as somebody who loved what he did. I was driving him and going to his his shows and his practices, and that's how I met him. And when I realized that he's not playing music enough, he is not okay.
Yeah. See, now he let you come to you come to a practice?
Well, I drove him to his practice.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. I used to honestly back in the day, I used to have a no girlfriend wife's policy. Nobody, just the band.
And
you want to know why? Well, you know why? Because then they get distracted. Well, then they start getting distracted, and I'm like, well, we're here to work.
No,
if you don't want to be, but I get what you're saying. You were his ride.
I was his ride. I was driving him into the city to
wow.
Well, it was like an hour and a half ride from where we lived to Chicago.
And during the time,
that's a lengthy ride.
And during the time, I was actually throwing like little shows myself.
Really?
I was doing little
Rockford shows.
I was putting on.
What's the club in Rockford? There's
the white building. I know exactly what you're talking about, but
no, it's like well, name some clubs in Rockford. We played, well, not Morta Skuld, but I was in a Soil. My buddy Soil played there, and I can't remember what the club was.
You would have had to be at Mary's place.
Wait, was it because Sean was in that band?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the name of the club, but it was in Rockford.
No. I'm trying to think of it. I know exactly where it is. But
yep. No, I was going to say, I know we were trying to do some shows at Livewire, or not Livewire, Cobra Lounge, and, but got postponed, but hopefully next year.
Yeah. I mean, the state of all those places are, we'll see what happens. But I think, like you said, like doing the, virtual shows, or if you do a benefit thing for a local club, all that money is going to, the same.
We need all of that.
But yeah,
sure.
I think,
Well, that's like two with us, the label, they did a pre-order for the record, and a couple of my friends got it, and they were like, wow, they really packaged it very nicely, and they made this shipping really affordable. I think they must have a U.S. distribution, but they made it really affordable, people, and I was really glad that happened, because people right now are really into their music. Statistically, people are buying more music right now because they can't go out to shows. And I know a couple of things we're working on because we're not doing a live stream, but I partnered up with somebody, which I will say it will be on our website soon, about it's a shirt on demand. So they will have like a bunch of Morta Skuld designs, and then you, the fan, or whoever buys it, like literally you pick the shirt, and you pick the size, you pick the image, and I think that's gonna, that's kind of what we're doing to kind of, help our revenue out, because we can't play.
Yeah, a lot of bands are doing that, because then you just don't have overstock. You got 3 boxes of extra smalls, and
exactly. And we get approached to a lot of approach from a lot of people overseas to license our stuff. So I'm always licensing T-shirts and stuff like that, and then I'll put them on the webpage, and here, and unfortunately sometimes it's overseas, so then the American people don't want to, the U.S. people, it's shipping and all that, because shipping is astronomical. We were gonna do not a mask thing, because everybody's doing the mask thing, but we were gonna do like the neck gaiter thing, and with the album cover on it, and it looked fucking amazing. And the thing I like about the neck gaiter is you can wear it snow blowing. You can wear it in the winter. It's got many uses, not just the COVID use.
And it looks cooler.
Cool, yeah.
It really does. And I was going to do it, and like 6 or 7 people said that, I'll buy one. And I said, oh, cool. I was just about ready to get them made, and I go to the post office with, because I wear the neck gaiters, and put it on a scale, and she's like, yeah, $15. I'm like, dude, does ship air? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and that's why we're very fortunate to have overseas people licensing our shirts with our permission, because the fans can get them, and they don't have to pay the astronomical shipping. But with the shirt on demand thing, I'm really hoping that does something, because obviously right now we can't. I'm sitting on boxes of CDs and records and stuff, and I can't do anything with them. Could I put them online and sell them? Sure, but then it's very tedious, because then you have to, people argue with you about shipping prices, and I'm like,
yeah, but can you make it like an exclusive through like Hell's Headbangers or?
No, we can't, because we're signed to Peaceful Records, so we have certain contractual rights that we can't do. Like if Hell's Headbangers wanted to have our record in their store, they could go to Peaceville and they can wholesale it. I mean, Nuclear Blast has our record. Century Media, everybody's got the record. It's because they wholesale from one another, so that's kind of how that works. But like, I couldn't offer anything, because then the label would be like, well, hey, that's our license, that's our that's our record, So if Hell's Headbanger went to the label and the label decided to wholesale to them, that's a different story. But we ourselves, I can't do that because of the the contract. So
got it.
So couldn't
you? What?
Can you do a show where you decide to do something that is similar as what Down did, and with other bands that are doing online shows that are like $9 tickets or $2 tickets or $3 tickets.
Well, I think what attracted people to the Down show was that they got the fans to record stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that you can,
and incorporate it
to all of your fans.
Which was genius. And
that way. It is genius, and it can be incorporated to,
There's a lot of, I imagine there's probably a lot of upfront costs involved with putting on any type of production like that, though, too.
Yeah, so. editing, cleaning up. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that editing is really expensive.
I think Jeremy does.
Well, yeah.
Jeremy knows.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Try and pay somebody to do my job.
And so does George, obviously.
But yeah, I definitely think merch though is like huge. I know I bought a lot of stuff that was like pre-order only, so that the band knew that they weren't going to get like screwed over on cost and be stuck with a lot of stuff. So that is really cool too.
Right.
But yeah, that's I think the main way that I'm supporting band now, because I'm not really big into buying albums or records. So I've probably bought more shirts and hats and whatever in the last 6 months than I have in like 10 years maybe. So I do think merch is like the way to go for a band right now.
I agree.
I buy a lot of music mostly all my music on Bandcamp.
Oh, cool.
And
you know what? That's awesome. Able literally right after the record came out, like 2 weeks, they're like, hey, here's a Bandcamp. And I'm like, oh, geez, like perfect timing,
Yeah. And the first Friday of each month, Bandcamp gives all the money to the artist.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
The first Friday of every month, that's when we go and we buy all our music. So,
all right, go ahead.
Bandcamp doesn't take their cut on that day. And unfortunately, labels who put up the music, then the labels are like, yay, more money for us. Oh, go fuck yourself. I'm not giving you any of this.
Pretty much. You're absolutely right on that, George. And that's the thing is like, even for us too, like you're like, I have friends like, hey, can I get a copy from you? And I'm like, I'd rather have you order through the label. Well, why? I said, because if you get it from me, it doesn't register as a sale.
Yeah.
I said, I buy all my copies from the label.
Mm-hmm.
And then even like when we get like the free copies, that gets billed on the back end. So we actually pay for those. So a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, record labels, I mean, they're record labels. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, very honored to be on Peaceville. They've been very good to us. But, I'm sure they're,
it's a business.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're really, like I said, I love the label because they have the nostalgia behind them. And like I said, they allow me to do stuff with my band that other record labels probably don't allow their bands to do. Like shirts and stuff like that. Then at the same time, I kind of am like, hey, like here, and sometimes, you get your bread and butter bands, you focus so much on them. And then, you're like, well, if you focus on me a little bit more, maybe I'd be doing some more numbers, So for bands like that are on our level, I just really try to like, please just go purchase the record or the download or whatever. It just helps us out, and we want to do another record, and like I always tell people, if you don't buy our stuff, we might not be able to do another record, Exactly. And then like you say about costs too, there's a lot of costs they have to recoup too, they have to get our recording budget, artwork budget, production just to produce everything. And on this record, Suffer for Nothing, we did the nice gatefold in the vinyl, which I don't see a lot of bands doing, and it brought me back to when I got Kiss Alive 2. And I opened it up. I was like, this is awesome. And I remember arguing with my guy, and I was like, hey, man, I'm like, just do me a solid. I said, let's do a gatefold. And he's like, oh, it's going to be extra money. And I was like, what, $1? I was like, I don't care. I'm like, I want to do this, and I think it'd be cool for the fans. And then they spun it around, and they put a raise like, yeah, look what we did. We did a gatefold just for you. And I was kind of like, no, that was me arguing with you to get that done.
Vinyl's where the money's at these days, and I mean more so than CDs.
Well, and tapes and cassettes. Cassettes are fucking huge now, man.
I don't get that one.
Wait, what do you think about like the packages where you get, like Relapse? You'll get the cassette, you'll get the album, you get like the.
I honestly, I like that. I think that's really cool. I think it's a great thing for the fans. Peaceville kind of did that with us. There was no cassette, no shirt, but they did a CD vinyl bundle. And like I think my buddy, the bundle. And I think my buddy said he bought it. I think he said it cost him like $6 to ship both. And they got their stuff early because they pre-ordered it. But no, I think that kind of stuff is really cool. I mean, like with us, we're going to be having new patches, new shirts, all that good stuff come out. But yeah, the bundle thing, we kind of do that when we play live too. A lot of times we'll offer a bundle. We'll say, if you buy a shirt, CD, and a record, or a shirt, CD, patch, whatever, we'll put like a little bundle together. And this is your choice, and whatever, $30 or whatever, and you can get, XYZ.
But what does it cost for you to do a record?
A lot. No, I'm kidding. No,
vinyl?
Oh, you mean like as far as like what the cost to do a vinyl, or you mean like recording a record? What?
No, like an actual vinyl.
Well, you got to get a separate master.
We did not. You're supposed to. And then these last 2 records, we did not, because I'm like, shit. I'm like, again, we forgot the separate master for the vinyl. But I haven't heard anybody say that the vinyl sounds bad, or everybody said their vinyl, because it's on that heavy, the 180 gram, like the real heavy. Yeah, it's on that real heavy vinyl. And I even told them too, like, I took my vinyl and I framed it, put it on the wall. I don't really play my stuff because I don't have a record player. But they literally took the record, and I even told them, I said, if you do a gatefold and all the fancy sleeves, just put it in a fucking paper sleeve. And that's exactly what they did. It comes in like a brown paper sleeve. It's in the middle of the gatefold, and I'm happy with it. I think it's cool. I think it's very 70s, kind of old school.
That is the idea, is that when you get a vinyl, there's zeros and ones. You hear different, ideas of songs that you wouldn't hear. It's kind of, it's more vintage.
Well, I think that all happens from
it's like a black and white photo.
What you record on, if you're recording on 2-inch tape, or or if you get it mastered a different way.
Right. In Netherlands, for example, I had a good friend of mine there. I don't know how he did this, but somehow he got recording for a whole set. And he put it on cassette and he sent it to me. And I'm like, I wish it's a little distorty at times. And I was like so hoping it wasn't going to be, because I really wanted to put that out myself on a cassette and just sell it, at shows. But it's just a little distorty. So I was like, But, the cassette thing, freaking huge in Europe. Not so much in the States, but there are fans that come to our shows. Hey, you got any cassettes? And I'm like, no, we used to work with a local label here, and that's what he does. He does all cassettes now. He used to do CD, but then CDs got so expensive. And now he just does a cassette. He'll sign a band for like 100 copies. He'll say one run, 100 copies only.
Found what people want.
Well, I think it's the
raw
aesthetic
underground sound.
It's the people that didn't have to deal with pencils and
Yeah.
Putting them back together in the 80s and being
I
like,
would say
fuck
right
these
now,
things.
Are you unscrewed it, rethread it? My friends are really fanatical about that. I remember we got Blizzard of Oz on cassette, and we'd walk around. Are you serious? Oh, dude, yeah. I wore that copy out. I swear I bought 3 copies. I kept wearing it out, and I remember any time, like, you know, if your heads would be dirty, you try to eat the cassette, no, and you'd be spooling it out, and you know, you'd be at some freaking party, everybody be like hammered, and here you're like, got a screwdriver, you know, and you're taking the body off, re-spooling it, like crossing your fingers that it's gonna work again, you know.
Yeah, when I got
the good old days, huh?
When I got Exodus Pleasures of the Flesh on cassette when it first came out.
Oh, I love that record.
Almost immediately there was something wrong with it, and it wouldn't spin. And so I had to take it apart and take like a blank cassette tape and open that up and like do a what is a transplant. I had to take everything out of the one case, put it in the other case, and put it all back together again, and so that it would play. And
exactly.
But the rawness is it's desire.
That only works for like black metal bands now, or like
right.
Like
and that's the one thing with me is I'm not a very big fan. Even back in the day, like Carcass, the earlier stuff, I really couldn't stand. I couldn't even understand. Well, I couldn't make out what the guitars were doing, and I'm sitting here going
we talked about that. But you're more of like UFO, like Scorpions.
But
dude.
the original idea of that was raw shit.
Yeah, I get it.
But he
it's not 1990 anymore. You don't need to do that.
I get criticized sometimes by people because I like my mixes clean, and like if you listen to Gory Departure, it was 1990. It's a clean mix. I feel if I'm going to do a record, it should sound good, and people should be able to hear what's going on. But that's just my spooky,
Yeah. I get a lot of crap on our podcast for I call things muddy. I'm like, that's too muddy for me. I don't like it.
Oh yeah. Or if they got or even the guitar sound, I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on there, but I can't get into that,
Yeah.
I did actually.
I'm very particular.
There's no reason for things to sound like crap in 2020.
There are, actually.
No, and that's the one thing that like I'm not trying to like knock black metal or people that like it, but like for me it's just not for me because you watch I've watched all the documentaries just to see what it's about, so I'm informed. So that way, if I do talk about it, people are like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I watched what is it? Into the Light Brings Us, or whatever that's called. Yeah, I've watched all.
Takes Us.
Thank you. I never can get that right either. But I've watched that, and I've watched oh crap, the Mayhem, the Lords of
Chaos, yeah.
Chaos thing. And I've watched all that stuff, and I get it. But they even say like we want it to sound as horrible as possible. And for me, I'm like, are you kidding? I'm the other way. I'm like, we need to get this to sound as good as possible. And so it's just to show you, there's just two different views, But look at black metal. Look out how far it's come, into the limelight. Back in the day, it was so underground. If you didn't go look for it, you weren't going to find it. And now, I've played with more black metal bands or more black death bands in the last 5 years than in the beginning of my career. So it's definitely in the forefront, and people are starting to embrace it more. And what I don't get, though, is they say the black metal guys are like, well, we don't want to be noticed. We don't want to do this. But then now it's like, well, you're almost becoming the trend now.
Yeah.
That makes any sense. Or do you agree with me or no?
I do. Yeah. It's like trendy to they're like, oh, shit. We have to be atmospheric. We have to sound like crap. You have to be as raw as possible. And I don't subscribe to that. In 1993, in Norway, it made sense, but even even Mayhem's De Mysteries Dan Satanas does not sound as shitty as stuff that comes out today. I mean, that's actually a pretty decently produced album.
Right. I would agree with that too. Yeah.
And even like the old Dark Throne stuff, it's like, I love Dark Throne. But even, like a new Dark Throne album is not particularly produced, but it still does not sound muddy and crappy. It's just raw. But it's still produced pretty well.
Right. I can't remember what black metal band I was listening to, but he was playing, and I was like, wow, this sounds like really rocky. I don't know what band it was, but they sounded like a freaking rock band. He's like, no, this is so-and-so. I'm like, what? Like,
it's got to be Dark Throne.
I think that's what it was. I think it was. I was like, it was like one of the last records.
Yeah,
that
Old
might
Star
be like
and
the Terracon's mid-period.
Yes.
No. He's talking about how Dark Throne went very like 80s in the last couple albums. There's like high vocals. It's almost glamish in a way.
Freaks me out.
And it's like, but it's Dark Throne, so fuck you. Yeah.
Right.
Which just brings it back to more of a Motorhead's, kind of vibe when it comes to.
Have you all heard like the?
Ask Daddy.
Dark Throne, Fenris kind of sector, how it is explained.
Yeah, we just did that.
That's that's a thing that it goes into a completely open.
Well, it's kind of weird. I mean, if you're listening to that stuff in the 90s when it came out, and like the difference between the death metal stuff and that, it was way more, exploited, kind of just dirty.
But, if you listen to like the Realms of Chaos, and then you listen to War Master.
Brewer.
night and day. Or you listen to, let's say, Necroticism and Heartwork. Night and day. And that's when I started liking a lot of the bands, is when they started going to the, like, oh, hey, this, I love Heartwork. I like Necroticism too, but I like Heartwork a little better.
Necroticism is pretty much where I pick up.
And Surgical Steel.
What was that, George?
Comeback album
for Carcass, Necroticism is kind of my high point. I mean, because I've been getting into a lot of grindcore, the symphonies. It was, what is it, Reek and then Symphonies? Or
Yep.
Yeah. And Reek is just fucking bunch of noise. I'm sorry.
Reek of putrefaction.
Yeah. Symphonies of Sickness is getting there. I'm like, it's almost tolerable to me, but then Necroticism is like the high point.
Yeah, but
Heartwork is good, but it's headed towards Swan Song.
Commercialism.
It's headed. It's like I don't mind the whole like black and roll or death and roll thing at all.
Right.
But
right.
But in terms of like heaviness, Necroticism, where is that?
You're saying no, but I think what she's saying is black metal and grindcore, like that's that underlying aesthetic.
There is an underlying aesthetic.
Like you need that dirty shit to make
so
good.
Where I see there is this dirty, grindy thing that goes in with X-Quarter, and then what tips into what I think is the other side of.
I think you're just talking about aesthetic value, like in understanding it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always going to be that thing.
And I think as, you continue, and I give you a lot of respect for, like going through that process and dealing with me all the time.
Well, when you go within that curdly, deep loss,
most people would not go through that.
What you
like
go
you must
do X-Quarter
really like me.
Dirty, nasty, curdly, I hate God.
Yeah, but this is,
it's
undefined, but more realization.
It's undefined, absolutely. When you get I hate God, the curdly.
I mean, we have a guest on, so we got to be acute.
Well,
I think
is any of that?
I want to take it back to Fenris for a second, just to get us.
Okay,
Has anybody listened to the new Isengard album that he just put out? That is the craziest. I fucking hate it.
Well, it's so funny because like as soon as our record came out, it's like you'd see Morta Skuld, and then you'd see that for like 50 more posts, and then there'd be a Morta Skuld, and then 50 more posts. Like, I don't know, it's weird because, like I said, just with the general attitude of black metal musicians, they don't like I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of going against what they kind of started out to do.
It's not even a black metal album.
What's it like?
It's
like
he's like literally like wah, literally like going as high as he can with these vocals. It's
like
it's weird.
And Summoning and Queen Track.
Yeah, definitely pulling in some Jeff Tate there.
Really? Is he doing it well? Is he doing it well?
Not really.
Not really.
But you know what? That record will probably sell 50. That record will probably sell 30, 40, 50,000 copies. Yeah, maybe more.
Because I like Fenris. I think he's a cool dude and all, but
I think he's a cool dude, and I like his attitude.
Is my favorite.
I don't know him personally, but from the documentary though, I don't know. I kind of feel like he's a little pompous a little bit, but
definitely.
I'm like, but sometimes though in Europe, I'm not trying to sound bad, but sometimes they're just that barrier, like when we did Netherlands Death Fest, and we, the show was over, and we're like looking all around, and it's like the venue was like almost like in the middle of like just a neighborhood, and you're looking around, everybody's like quiet, streets are clean, everything. And this guy, big German guy, comes up there, I think Russian, I don't know, he comes up to us and he goes, I take you to club. I don't care. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I don't care who you are. I take you to club. I was like, and it's weird because he videotaped one of our songs and put it on YouTube. And then he's walking with us, and it's raining, it's pouring. We got our hoodies up. He has just a shirt. He's got his bike. He's getting drenched. He's like, I don't care who you are. I take you to club. You follow. And we're just like walking to him, and we went to this little club in the middle of a neighborhood called the Little Devil. And I had fucking so much fun. I feel like I was taken back to the 80s. Like, I walked in this club, and it was packed. It was a very small club. It was packed. I think they actually do have bands play there, too. And it was small, but it was very packed. And everybody in there, it's just like in high school. Everybody had their arm around each other, and and they were playing Scorpions and Accept, and and I'm sitting there with this huge Franz and Connor beer just getting rocked off my ass, and some dudes passed out on the floor, and people are stepping over him. But then at the end of the night, when everybody's said and done, they made sure he got home. Like, nobody is like no man left behind, and it was such a good it was such a great camaraderie. I really felt like I was with like a bunch of friends, and here I had guys from Denmark and Russia and Czech Republic, and all these different languages are being spoken around me, and I don't know any of them, and I'm going like, wow, this is fucking weird. Everybody kind of spoke the same language as soon as they heard Scorpions come on or something, or Whitesnake or whatever. It was just amazing to see that. I feel like I was transported back in time for that.
That's the way I felt at Wacken. It's like it is a melting pot of everybody from everywhere.
Right.
Right. I was talking to people from Russia and Wales and South America.
Right. And they party weird. They party different. Like when we did Symbolic Open Air, which is open. And I got there and I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And you see all these tents.
Yeah.
Camp out. And then they wake up real early, start getting hammered, and they would come up to me. It's like 2-3 in the afternoon, and they're pushing bottles against me and they're speaking in Russian, and I'm like, dude, I was still on American time. I said, I don't want to, no, you drink. And like, they literally like, you drink. Like, if you don't drink, I'm going to be insulted.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm pounding Russian vodka and stuff. And then all of a sudden I look around and everybody's gone. So where the fuck did everybody go? They take naps. They went and took a 2-hour nap, got back up, and started all over again.
The Germans are like the Germans are like soccer hooligans all night. It's like they play metal all day long, and then at like 1 o'clock in the morning, they're like, okay, this is the time on Sprockets where we dance. And they start playing all this techno music all night, and they're all just fucking losing their minds to this shit. It's great until like 5 o'clock in the morning, literally 5-6 o'clock in the morning. And then they sleep for a couple hours and start again at noon.
Yeah, I know. Amazing culture.
Wow.
Hey.
That's Canada.
There you go. Hey.
I did have a question about one of the songs on the new album, actually. The title track, in fact.
Okay.
I don't normally pay a lot of attention to death metal lyrics because it's more about the brutality, the intensity, the feeling. I'm like,
sure.
A lot of death metal lyrics are fucking dumb, or just the same old, gut score, whatever. But the title track, for whatever reason, I was listening to it and I was like, I want to go back and look at those lyrics. And I looked at them and I was like, huh. So I wanted to know what that song is about.
I'm a really close friend of mine. It's probably been at least 5 or 6 years. His brother passed away. His brother and I were the same age. And his brother, how can I say this? Had a pretty severe drinking problem, to a point where like he was in a wheelchair. And I walked in one day. I said, "Hey man, who's the old man?" And he's like, "That's my brother." And I'm like, "What?" Like, that guy's the same age as me, and he had drank himself so poorly into health that he was confined to a wheelchair and looked like he was 60, 70, and he passed away. And I was at my buddy had like a shop. He's a big guitar guy and all that, but he had a shop. He built speakers and stuff. And on his erase board, he said, my brother should have, I think he said something like, my brother should have stood for something and not suffered for nothing. And it just stuck in my head to suffer for nothing. And what I really based it about, I got that idea from my buddy, but the main, what the message I'm trying to say is that we all put ourselves through a lot of needless suffering in our lifetimes that we really don't need to do. And, you know, whether it's staying with a girlfriend too long or staying at a shitty job or whatever, I just feel we all have that in our lives, and we all can relate to suffering on some level. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what the premise of the song was about.
Ironically, I don't know if you noticed, but I got totally kicked out and missed almost entirely all of that answer. So,
I can tell you again.
No, well, I was going to say if it was all me, I'll just listen to the episode and pick it up then. But
no, it was basically my buddy had a saying written on his board at his shop because his brother drank himself to death, and he said my brother should have stood for something and not suffered for nothing. So I got the idea of the title track, the title. But what I was trying to say before is we all put ourselves through a lot of needless suffering. Whether it's staying with an ex or a job, or we put ourselves through needless suffering. And I think that's something that we can all relate to as people. And that's the main idea behind the song.
Excellent. I like that.
Thank you. I try to put some thought into my lyrics, believe it or not. There's nights where I struggle. Yeah, and I'm like, shit. Like, this makes no. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you just wrote this song. It makes no goddamn sense. And then sometimes I stop myself, and my girlfriend always tells me, you know, Dave, we really don't. A lot of us death metal fans really don't pay attention to the lyrics. So you're probably busting your balls for no reason. So there's some lyrics where I was like, that makes fuck it. I'm leaving it. You know, I mean, if Pink Floyd can write lyrics that I don't understand, and Led Zeppelin can write like what? What did he say?
Well,
I feel like I can do
that. A while I come across a band and that maybe I'm not paying attention to the lyrics too much, and then I'm like, and they surprise me, and that's what this was. I was like, wait, this is actually worth reading. This is actually worth what's being said. So,
nice.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Dave, is there any bands right now that you think we should be paying attention to that maybe aren't getting the exposure they need, or something local that you'd want to promote?
I honestly am, man, I'm not like George. I honestly don't listen to a ton of music. I listen to a lot of stuff that, like classic, Obituary, Morbid Angel, Death. I stick with the classics that I like. Every once in a while, a band will, like Skeletal Remains. It kind of came on my radar a couple of years. Like, oh, hey, and me and Chris became really good friends, and I was like, wow, I really fucking love these guys. I listen to a lot of, now I've been listening, this last couple of months, I've been listening to a lot of Scorpions and a lot of Michael Schenker Fest stuff. The last two records he put out, I think, are amazing. As far as death metal goes, the new Vader definitely made it in my player, and I like it a lot. And the new Alcatraz. I'm a big Graham Bonnet fan. A lot of people don't know that about me. I do have a couple of. I'm not a very adventurous guy with music, but a lot of people that are real close to me know I'm a huge Whitesnake fan. Love the old Whitesnake. I love
Whitesnake albums are awesome.
Yeah, and I love. I love a lot of.
Is Graham Bonnet on the new Alcatraz?
Yes, that's his band. He's on every one.
Who's the guitar player?
Joe Stump.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And you know what? I met those guys on the very first record, No Parole for Rock and Roll, when they did like a show here at a record riot we had when we used to have them back in the day. They played. Yngwie was amazing. Met all of them. Got my record signed. I thought it was great. And then they put out another record with Steve Vai. I'm not a big Steve Vai fan. I respect him. Phenomenal musician. I just don't like his stuff. It's a little too quirky for me. So I didn't really like the second record or the third record. And then this record, Joe Stump, he is kind of, some people say he's an Yngwie clone. He knows a hell of a lot of Yngwie licks. And he kind of brought, I felt like this could have been the second record after No Parole for Rock and Roll. I just think it's a great record. And I love Graham Bonnet's melodies, and I love his vocals a lot. So, but like Seal, I'm an early Seal fan. I like the first two records. So
Seal,
Seal,
too, dude. I fucking love that shit.
I don't like the new CDs.
Guy.
What was that?
the Kiss from a Rose guy or whatever.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's awesome.
His first record I fucking love. It was really raw, and I loved
Crazy,
it. I love
Crazy was that?
Yep.
No, but it was good, like in a polished Phil Collins kind of way.
Ooh,
yeah,
there's my boy.
But then he started doing the blues and stuff. I'm not really into that, so I was like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I really don't deviate too much.
That's a good.
It's really yeah, but I mean, like as far as like with death metal, I stick to kind of the classics. You know, like I felt like the last two Obituaries were fucking awesome. Just really solid records. I'm just really into that type of stuff, and that's kind of the stuff I like. Trying to think of anything. Yeah.
Did your kids influence like anything you listened to as far as, you know?
My kids? No, my kids never really influenced. No, nothing like that. Mainly my kids probably gave me a lot of lyrical inspiration because I had such a turbulent divorce and custody battles for both kids, and I think it just gave me a lot of
like symbiotic, like more symbiotic, not literal.
Oh,
like you weren't influenced by Billie Eilish, but you
don't even know who that is.
Okay,
not missing anything. Yeah, I mean, she's okay. I mean, she's.
All right.
I'll take her over. What's her that fucking stupid bitch?
What is it? I don't know.
Sure.
Is that the one with the pussy?
Cardi B.
Oh, Cardi B. Ugh. No thanks.
Hate her. But like the new
I don't
kind of good.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of radio. I think the only radio I really listen to is the Eddie Trunk hour and a half on Saturday nights when I get together with my friends and we sit around and drink beer and we go, "What's he gonna play tonight?" You know, which by right. Well, last week he had a tribute show to Eddie Van Halen. He played like the same songs like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, "Does he know he's playing the same fucking songs?" You know. And then of course, since he's such a Sammy Hagar fan, he's playing all the Sammy stuff, which I know nothing of. To me, Van Halen's David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, and Michael Anthony. That's Van Halen to me. And somebody just asked me. I did a podcast earlier this week, and somebody asked me about what my thoughts were about Eddie and this and that. And it's hard for me to say because like one of my friends got really depressed about his passing, and I was kind of being a dick, and I was like, "Wow, really? Like, what? You ever meet him?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "Do you know him?" No. I'm like, "Well, whatever, right?" And then I sat down and I watched, I watched a documentary about Jack Ritter the other night. Sad as shit. I was almost in tears, and then I go, "Wait a second, I never met this guy. Why am I sad?" So it really made me feel like, dude, everybody's got their own, that they feel more sad for, I guess, than others.
Especially because we're watching nothing but, I mean, depending on what you do.
Right.
We're sitting on our ass at home. Or working.
Yeah, I lost my job back in March, so I'm doing the same. I remember once when I was working at the music store, and Megadeth was Megadeth and Static X, and Dave Ellefson did an in-store. And
Static X.
Yeah, yes, nicest guy. I was like, this guy's so nice, and he looks at me and my guy was my bass player at the time, Jason. He's like, "Hey, you guys want to come to the show tonight?" We're like, "Hell yeah!" He's like, "Set you up VIP and all that." We're like, cool, And after the show's done, we go backstage and we're sitting in the dressing room, and supposedly Dave Mustaine was going to come out and hang out. Marty Friedman comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" I said, "Wow, dude." I said, "Great show." I said, "I'm really sorry that I couldn't hear your solos." And he's like, "What?" And I said, "Every time you went into solo mode, it was like there was a mute button." And he was like, "What?" And he's like, "Where the fuck is that sound guy?" And just took off. And I'm like, "Oh, I got somebody in trouble." But needless to say, my bass player, he's looking over, and they told us, they said, "No drinking, no smoking, no nothing around Dave." And we're like, okay. So we noticed there was it was like a little basket, had a couple bananas in it. My bass player didn't think nothing of it. Picks up banana, starts eating a banana. Dave Mustaine comes in, he goes, "Who the fuck said you could eat my banana?"
Nah.
And just was pretty damn serious about it. And that was my first and only experience with Dave at that point. I was like, "Who told you you could eat Dave Mustaine's fucking banana?"
That's awesome. I got to meet Dave a couple years ago at the Decibel. He was promoting the Megadeth beer. The Le Monde beer.
Yeah.
And
it's all right.
It's all right. It's not bad.
It's all right.
And I met him up at the like in the press room at the Decibel Fest, and he was okay. I mean, I only got to talk to him for a second, shake his hand, take a picture, said a couple of words. I was like, hey, Dave, again, that seems to be my thing when I meet like iconic heavy metal people is I was like, dude, thanks for the music. And he was like, that's cool. And I was like, can I shake your hand? And he just sits there and gives me this Dave Mustaine stare. He's just kind of like, and I was like, all right.
Okay, then. Okay.
He didn't kill me. Didn't say mean things to me. I'm walking away a fan still.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's cool. Well, what time is it?
It's almost 1 o'clock here.
Yeah.
But that's just tip of the iceberg for me.
Think,
so
man?
if you got to cut it off.
What's up?
No, do you want to call it?
Yeah, I gotta do a couple more minutes.
Okay. Well, I would say let's use those couple minutes to kind of, talk about your album, where people can get it.
Sure.
There's, a best way to digest, what's going on with Morta Skuld.
Well, right now, obviously we can't, like everybody else, we can't tour. So we're hoping that next year things pick up and we can get out, support this record. We are currently taking advantage of the downtime right now. So we have a couple of new songs written, and we're hoping by the end of the year to have probably like 3 or 4 newer songs written. But as far as Suffer for Nothing, you can go to peacefulrecords.com. They've got a great bundle there, as well as our first 3 records, reissued, remastered, or Wounds Deeper Than Time, which is our last record, which I'm very proud of too. Thank you. Or you can go to Spotify, iTunes, Diesel, Tidal, anywhere pretty much. Amazon. I think one of my buddies said he ordered a record off of Amazon. So, probably Target.com. There's all different websites you can get it through, so you can just Google it. But I just want to say I appreciate the fans out there that are buying it, and it's you're buying a copy, you're helping us, do our next record basically. So I really hope people go out and purchase the hell out of it. I really feel like this is a very strong record for us. We took a lot of time. We didn't really have a formula with anything. We just wrote how we felt and what we wanted to hear. 'Cause I know for a while, between the last record and this record, I kind of wanted to write what I felt fans wanted to hear. And I basically just at that point said, I'm going to write what I want to write. And, so that's kind of the approach we took to this record is, whether the riff goes 4 measures or 8 measures or whatever, we just did it more on feel. But I'm very proud of the record. We recorded it here in our hometown with Chris DeJuric of Bell City Sound. He does the Jungle Rot, November's Doom guys. Just turned out really well. And like I said, all the formats you can get it at. I would even tell people too, if you don't want to order it online or something, if you have a record store, which most of us don't have, but we're fortunate in Wisconsin to have a pretty decent chain, exclusive company, you can go in a record store and say, hey, I want a copy of the Morta Skuld, and they'll probably order it for you. But I appreciate everybody that has bought it already, and the reviews that have come in, and I appreciate you guys for having me on. It was awesome to know everybody, and I just appreciate it because, helps me spread the word. And, when you guys are ready to put this up, I'll put it on the page too, help spread your word. And
I appreciate that. I really do.
No, I appreciate all you guys, man. It's it's a two-way street.
How many people do not share episodes?
No, I just did a podcast with I don't know if you guys know Joe Denby from over in Europe, UK. He did an unboxing video of the new album for us, and
nice.
I guess it did really well, as far as views and stuff. And then he's like, hey, he goes, would you do a podcast with me? I'm like, yeah, I did one 3 years ago. I'll do another one. And then I, as soon as he sent me the link, I put it up, and, I like people to get to hear everything because, it helps you guys out too. You guys are trying to spread your word. I'm trying to spread my word. And I figure, if we can help each other, we can help each other. Why not? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And,
that's my next song. That's my next song.
So many people will not do that. I don't know if it's, some of the bigger bands, they're used to having people do it for them. And so they just don't do it. They're like, I don't do that. That's not my job. I've got PR people for that.
Well, you know what? Like every time I get a review too, and I post it, I always thank. Like I don't really go nuts. Like I'll go like Metal Hammer or Decibel. I reposted their review of it, and I went, thanks, Decibel. And I just kind of like that because that's even like when I'm at a show and we're playing and a fan will buy a record. Like I don't usually let people walk away without a handshake. And some people find it odd, but I thank them for their purchase. And some people are like, what? And I'm like, well, I'm thanking you for buying my record. I mean, you have 4 other bands or whoever we're playing with. You could purchase anybody else's stuff, but you chose to purchase mine. So I always try to be, as appreciative as I can be because, I'm not James Hetfield or Dave Mustaine, and they are who they are.
That personal touch means a lot to people. I mean, I know as many shows as we go to and bands that we meet and stuff, the ones that are memorable are the ones that add that personal touch. I can tell you a number of bands who we were like, yeah, they're all right. But then you meet them or you see them at the merch booth and you talk to them and you're like, wow, I like them a lot more now just because of how cool they are.
Sure. Yeah. All my guys, we're just musicians, so I mean we're all pretty grateful to come out and play shows, and like I said, it's it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 15 or real quick. I know a couple of years ago we played Kentucky Death Fest, and they put us on like super late, and a lot of people had gone, but there were still probably 30 kids that were there, or 30 people that stayed, and they stayed just to see us. And they even told us, we're like, yeah, we drove from wherever to come here and see you and all that stuff. And I was just like, well, I hope I hope we did good for you, because I was like, we're going to play the best we can. I've never played a perfect show ever. I don't know if any other musicians have, but I know I haven't. I see like Michael Schenker play, and I'm like, how does this guy play so perfect every time? But I don't. But then I feel like, to me, that's part of the experience, seeing live musicians play. And like I said, I appreciate the people that come out, and if they don't come out, it's like I can't do this without you guys. I can't do this without them. Just an average guy, and it's like that. Like you say, what?
We're all doing this together.
Absolutely.
We are all promoting one another, and it's all one-to-one. That it has to be together.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you're literally, if you look at when your album came out, I mean, in the Midwest, you're one of the original death metal bands that came out in this area. So, you have a lot of respect from a lot of people, and it was mighty nice of you to come on. So, and just being so real and such a human being.
Well, I appreciate you as well. Like I said, Rob and I are real good friends, and I know when Rob asked me to to get in contact with you and all that, I knew it wasn't going to be some joker or not like that, because Rob's a good guy. You seem very sincere yourself, and we're all people in the end of the day, and it's just we're talking metal, and this is kind of it. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
It is. It's a lifestyle.
And like you said, we're my labor of love is my band, and your labor of love is your podcast, and it's really no different. It's just I'm playing an instrument, I am, and that's really the only difference.
George, I love you.
Do you?
People out there.
I feel like you never say it.
Well, I'm getting more comfortable with it.
I'm just kidding. You said it like 5 times in the last 10 minutes.
Oh, good.
I am much loved.
Well, George, love you. Jeremy, love you.
Thanks for having me on again, guys. Get some sleep.
People under the stairs that open the walls that we feed.
I'm gonna keep trying to edit myself, so maybe next time we can keep this like 2 hours.
Yeah, well,
I thought I did pretty okay. I don't know.
We can't edit Steve, though. We can't.
Yeah, that's the thing. However bad I am, Steve will just keep talking. You can just keep talking.
Me?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I would actually give up before you do. I would be like, dude, I gotta. I mean, I feel like when you were on our pod, and then we talked for like hours afterward, I think I was finally like, dude, it is 5 o'clock in the morning. I have to go to bed.
All right.
So I think in the endurance podcasting world, you would take me.
Well, one day maybe we'll let Steve like do his dream of a 24-hour podcast.
Yeah, whenever. We'll take bets on endurance.
Like one of those contests where you put your hand on, like, everybody puts their hand on the car and the last person to take their hand off wins.
Yeah, it's like Jerry Lee Lewis with the, you can't say retards. What do you call them now?
Not retards.
Not that at all. Anyway, so George, thank you.
All right, man. Have a happy birthday.
Jeremy, thank you all for tuning in to Dead Letter Omissions. And hope to talk to you soon. Later. I'm not going to go on that. Fuck that.